Hi, good morning. This is Joseph Rosales, Business in the New Normal. I'm here with my co-host, Ike Devji. We have a guest as well today, Gunther Mueller, and we're going to introduce him in just a few minutes. But just wanted to welcome everybody again to the program and remind you that our purpose here, we try and stay away from the politics of things. We try and share information with our listeners to help you be more informed, more prepared, and more diligent. We know that there's a lot of different information out there. There's a lot of left, right, and middle spin, and it's sometimes hard to know what really do you need to pay attention to. And this is a business program, really. We talk about business in the new normal because we know that people are challenged. People are uncertain sometimes where to go and how to not just survive in this new normal, but how to thrive. And we all know that there are the stories abounding of companies that were basically shut down or stopped doing business in their current model, and they've thrived. They've figured out how to pivot and how to move forward and thrive in this challenging yet opportunistic environment. So I wanted to just remind everybody that's really our purpose here, to talk about how you can move forward in your business, move forward in your enterprises. So I want to start off with just asking you, Ike, how you doing this morning and what's going on in your world?
I'm doing well, thank you. It's good to be with you again this morning. What is going on in my world? That's a good question. There's been last week was a busy week with some interesting challenges that we're dealing with, and some things that we're seeing sort of countrywide. The election and the uncertainty of its effect on tax law still is a big issue. We've got a number of business owners that are inquiring about that. Primarily, folks are worried about how the election could change our current very large estate tax exemption. So we're getting a lot of folks who are looking at transferring significant amounts of wealth. And that wealth transfer is leading people to also start working on things like business succession planning and exit planning. There are a lot of folks who are looking at this as an opportunity from a tax perspective to leave a business and have a big payday. And they're looking at the timing of that and how the current exemptions can be capitalized upon to do that efficiently. So we're having a lot of folks who maybe weren't thinking about selling their businesses as they're starting an estate planning conversation and an estate tax avoidance conversation, are also suddenly having exit planning strategy sessions and looking at what is my business worth? How can I sell it during a pandemic combined with a recession? Are businesses still being bought and sold? And the answer, it's a little bit surprisingly to me, is yes. There's a bunch of money out there looking for good opportunities. And there are a bunch of people who have worked hard their whole life, who built businesses, the kind of people that you and I deal with every day, Joseph, who are looking at this as an opportunity to maybe enjoy some of that success and step back a little bit. So we're looking at those issues. Obviously, the biggest issue for many businesses is still customers. It's still consumer confidence. So we have a lot of folks that are worried about that, both from a liability standpoint and from a consumer confidence standpoint, which you and I have talked about consistently, as I think we agree is the key to getting the economy back where it needs to be at full capacity, is getting a point where the virus's control are comfortable coming back. So we have a lot of clients who are now spending money on marketing and communications in a way that they hadn't before to help convey what they are doing to the public. And this is something that you and I have been talking about for more than 6 months, right? It doesn't matter how good, how clean, how compliant you are if your customers don't know about it. So we are seeing folks reaching out to marketing experts, to consultants, to communication experts, and spending money on things that they never had before to help make sure that people know that they are serious, they are spending time and money, and that they do care, and they want you back.
Right. Yeah, well, it's interesting because for anybody who's joining us new on the program today, Ike is a asset protection attorney. He is a lawyer here in Scottsdale, Arizona, with clients all over the country, and his business is helping people to protect their assets and grow their assets, growing them by helping to protect them, really, because there's a lot of opportunity out there to lose money in this environment and make money, obviously. So, along with our mindset of, don't just survive, thrive in this environment. It's important that you understand the legality side of things. At the end of the presentation or this conversation, Ike's information will be up there. My information will be up there. Gunther's information will be up there. So if anybody wants to reach out to us, you can do that directly, and we're happy to take those calls. It's interesting though, Ike, because you've been preaching for months about the importance of leadership today. And it's leadership is never more pronounced than when there's crisis. And whether you fall on the left or right of this issue, there's crisis out there. Businesses are closing at a record rate. People are uncertain about what the next step is, what's going to happen with the election, what's going to happen with, the next outbreak or not. I know Gunther's going to talk about how we can all be healthier mentally and physically, so we can, ward off some of the things that come at us. And certainly virus is one of those things that comes at us. But it's interesting because I was able to last week have a very successful launch of my new book, The Leader of You. And I was super excited about the launch, and it's now available as a pre-sale. It'll be available as a download next week, and then as a hard copy, I guess, in 2 weeks. Digital course coming out with it. Not to promote the book as much as talking about, we're all looking for leadership. And it starts with you. If you can't be an effective leader of yourself, then you can't be an effective leader of others. And you're going to be looking for somebody else to lead you. And that's just not a good idea, especially today. And so however we can encourage our listeners to take inventory of where they are in certain areas in their business, but also to step up and be that leader that they're looking for. I say in the book, leadership is simple, but it's not easy. It's like the golf game. I play a lot of golf, and it's a simple game. The ball's not moving. Nobody's trying to tackle you. But it's very complex because there's so many moving parts. And that's the same way in leadership. Pretty simple, but not easy. So I hope that people, they can go to theleaderofyou.com, check it out. But, we're finding the same thing you just mentioned a few minutes ago. Consumer confidence is still something that businesses are struggling with. Everybody thought this was going to come up and it was going to go away in a month or two and we're back to normal. Well, we've all seen that it's not gone away. The financial and economic impacts have been widespread, and they continue to unfold. I think it was just last week or earlier, I guess it was last week, when the airlines laid off tens of thousands of people. And we continue to see those layoffs unfolding in front of us. And those people have to go to work someplace. And if they don't go to work, eventually they're going to run out of money, and we're going to see some impact. My wife's in the mortgage business. She's super, super busy right now, but she's starting to see the effect in the commercial side, where people aren't going back to their offices the way they were. They're not going to those little cafes and restaurants that were around those office complexes. We're starting to see that continue to unfold. And though we don't hear about it on the news much, it's happening. People with commercial buildings are sucking wind right now, a lot of them. And I know that, our financial advisor just turned back his 5,000 square foot office that he had because people aren't coming back to it. So they're working from home. So it's interesting, all the different things that we see unfolding in front of us. And I want to encourage people, share this link, share this call with your friends. Anybody who's in business, anybody who lives in this environment, which is all of us, needs to have some good thoughts, some good ideas, some good strategies about how to move forward. Today, we're going to be talking about health. mental and physical health. I know before we introduce Gunther, do you have anything else you want to kind of add before we move on to our guest?
No, I think we're ready for him.
Okay. I have the distinct pleasure of introducing Gunther Mueller. Gunther is a optimal health strategist. He's also an international speaker. We met several months ago, quite by accident, but it wasn't an accident. Maybe it was fate, because he came to me and said, "I heard what you were saying. I'd like to talk to you." I was in just real quick. I was in a massage place over here in Anthem, a legal one, and I was buying a gift card for my wife, and I was talking to the owner about a book that I'd written and our leadership summits that were coming up, and Gunther was sitting in the waiting room waiting for his massage, and he said, "I'm sorry, I happened to overhear what you're talking about, and I'm a professional speaker as well. I'd love to get maybe an opportunity to sit down and have coffee with you and get to know each other." And we've developed a nice friendship since then. Mm-hmm. And so, sometimes things are on your periphery, and if you don't reach out, guess what? Nothing happens. So there's a message there for all of us to reach out when it happens. But Gunther has worked closely with over 250 medical professionals across the country for almost a decade. Got a rich background in entrepreneurialism. He's owned restaurants, he's owned other kinds of businesses, but his thing, that he's been in for the last 10 plus years is really helping people understand the strategies and therapies leading towards optimal health. And he uses that word optimal, not normal, not just regular health, but optimal health. How can we all be optimal? Being the inspiring catalyst for both practitioners and patients to take charge of their own health destinies. Since founding Vibrant Health Gurus and hosting their podcast, which I'd recommend you look it up, Vibrant Health Gurus, he's had the opportunity to share his message of feeling young, healthy, and vibrant again, both domestically and internationally. Also does some work with Tony Robbins, and he just was 40 hours with those guys. So Gunther's got game, and he's been out there, helping businesses and people to optimize their health. So with that, I'm going to say, Gunther, welcome to the program. How are you?
All right, Joseph and Ike, thank you so much for inviting me to be on your show. I know you guys have a great influence over your audience and the entrepreneurs and business owners that are listening to you today. And I'm excited to be able to share some concepts around optimal health, because being an entrepreneur myself for the last 30 years, I know that if you don't have your mental clarity, if you don't have that vibrant energy coming off you every day, it's going to be very difficult to lead other people, especially through the uncertain times and the unsafe times that we find ourselves in right now. So your book that's coming out, The Leader of You, we first have to take charge of ourselves. We have to lead our own destiny before we can ever lead other people. And that starts truly with education. And unfortunately, in our world, we live in our world through news sound bites and little blips here and blips there. And it's never the complete story. So my passion is educating people on how to truly take charge of their health destiny. And we just happen to be in a situation now where health is on everyone's mind. We're all concerned about a virus, but I want to bring it to everybody's recollection. If you ever had a virus before and you went to your doctor, what did they tell you? Guys, if you went to the doctor and you weren't feeling good and they said, "Oh, it's viral," what did they do for you?
Rest.
Yeah. Said, we don't have a treatment for that. There's nothing we can do for it.
Yeah.
Right. If it was bacterial, they gave you some antibiotics and you recovered. So, thank God for antibiotics. They saved millions of lives since they were invented, but there's an overuse of antibiotics now. Now people feel a little bit under the weather and they run to the doctor and they get on a round of antibiotics. On that note, I want to share with your listeners that one round of antibiotics can disturb your gut for up to 7 years. Wow. And after you get done with doing antibiotics, if you don't take some good probiotics to rebalance that flora and fauna that we have in our gut, your 3 to 5 pounds of your body weight is bacteria that lives in the gut. They're calling this the second brain. This is actually a primary brain. This brain and this brain are connected. If you ever had that idea that, I had a gut feeling, it's real. Okay. It's an actual physiological dynamic between this brain and this brain. And you have 29 feet of intestines from end to end. And there's
Wow.
different acidic and base environments for these flora and fauna to exist. And so a lot of the symptoms and the conditions that we have of ill health, or what I call unwanted symptoms, are a result of our gut being unbalanced. So
Wow.
what direction can I take you in, Joseph and Ike? I mean, this is your audience, so kind of give me an idea of what you think your listeners really want to learn about.
Well, thank you for asking. It's always so interesting. You and I have had some amazing long coffee conversations over at Amped, and it's really amazing what I don't know about my own health, and what you don't know can hurt you, and so it's interesting. I guess the question that I would like to ask is, what does everybody essentially need to know to take charge of their own health destiny? Because we're all going to go someplace. It's how you get there and how you feel when you get there that's going to be really important. So what are some of the things that are essential that you like to share with your audiences when you're presenting this topic?
So the main thing I like to share with an audience is that, look, you don't want to be normal. You want to be optimal. And what do I mean by that? Every year you go to your doctor and you get your lab work done and the results come back and they say, hey, everything is normal. You're in good shape. See you next year. The number one leading cause of death in the United States is cardiovascular disease. Number two is cancer. And number three is actually medical errors. Taking drugs as prescribed and them having a negative impact on physiology. 106,000 people die a year because of the use of FDA approved drugs. All right.
Wow.
So even with science and medicine advancing the way it has over the last 50 years, why is cardiovascular disease still the number one killer of both men and women? Why is cancer exponential? Breast cancer in women, prostate cancer in women. Why do the number one symptom that people that show up to their family physician with these days is, doc, I'm fatigued. I'm tired all the time. I don't have the energy. I have this brain fog going on. Maybe I have mood swings. I'm feeling depressed. I'm anxious, right? We have a stress in our culture. Stress is the number one hormonal disruptor in our body. But what happens when we go in for our lab test and it comes back normal, what you need to understand, there is no science behind that reference range on your lab slip. It is the average of a population. Meaning if you're 40 to 50 years old, you're 50 to 60 years old, you're 7 to 80 years old, however that blood work comes back, that is normal for your age. It's not optimal health, because if I put down my birthday down there and I was 25 years old when I took that blood work, they're going to expect different levels than they do for a 45-year-old or a 55-year-old to take that blood work. So in our culture, what we've done, we've associated disease with aging. We've taken it as normal that as we get older, we're supposed to have aches and pains and our body's not supposed to function the way it used to. And it's just, we've associated age with not feeling good in our body. And there's something to that. I mean, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, we all left the planet at 50, 55 years old, 60 years old. And I always like the joke from the finance side that they set the retirement age at 65 because you weren't supposed to be around to collect any of those checks. You were supposed to be long gone. But now with the advances, we can do a quadruple bypass. We can change your hip. We can change your knee. We can do all kinds of amazing things. And that's the difference between longevity of life and quality of life. Right. What I solve for as an optimal health strategist is the quality of life. You're probably going to live a long time. The question is, how are you going to feel in that body? And as a leader of you, a leader in business, a leader of other people, you have to take care of yourself. This thing that you have here, this is the temple. If you don't take care of this, what do you got? Where are you going to live? And so we invest in our 401ks. We take good care of our cars. We take care of our homes and all that kind of stuff. But do we ever really invest? Most patients will say, I'll do whatever insurance covers. And this is the one myth I want to bust for everybody. Your health insurance was never designed to keep you optimally healthy. Your health insurance was designed to keep you alive.
Interesting. You have a book that's coming out soon. The title, I love the title, What Your Doctor Doesn't Know or Just Won't Tell You.
Yes.
Kind of falls right into that, right?
It does. And doctors are great people. They took an oath to cause no harm and to do the best that they know how to do to help you thrive. And that is that Hippocratic oath, right? That is they go to school for many years to learn how to do stuff. The problem in our culture is that they don't know what they don't know because they haven't been taught. And the part about or just won't tell you is that doctors that do get to know sometimes won't tell you because they'll be ostracized by their own medical community if they step off the reservation. If they start doing things that actually heal you, that actually help you thrive, and it's against what we call the standard of care in medicine, they could be ostracized by their colleagues. The last thing a doctor wants to be labeled as being a quack, or just doing something that's totally different and unapproved. Again, 106,000 people a year die from FDA approved drugs. They're approved until they're not.
Yeah. It's interesting because, you hear things like that and you go, oh, come on, conspiracy, doctors don't do that. But you know what? There's a lot of pressure for people to do a lot of different things. Financially, medically, peer review wise, and not much surprises me anymore. Unfortunately, right. I guess I'm at the point in my life where not much surprises me. Ike, what do you think? It's interesting because we're all living, breathing humans, and we take better and worse care of ourselves during different times of our life. And what are you thinking about what Gunther's saying here?
Well, I mean, that it's an interesting concept that Gunther brings up, the difference between what is, as he said, normal versus optimal, right? So what are we aiming lower than we should be is part of what I'm hearing there, right? Is, are we in the same boat as everybody else at this age? And is that the best it should be? And the answer clearly is no. We should, our standards should be different from the norm. So I guess I would have a question of, can you identify for us, Gunther, some of the 3 biggest mistakes that people are making with their health, or things that they should be doing differently? I totally understand, you brought up a couple of specifics that are very actionable, like taking probiotics after you've been on antibiotics, right, to restore gut health and things like that. And we've seen lots of the physicians that I help protect all over the country have put out things. I get their newsletters, I get their health updates, and they've all been talking about gut health for quite a while, for a number of years, the last few years especially, as a key component that we overlook in this country. In all of our other health metrics, we take all these other supplements, but we don't pay attention to that. And the connection between that and mental clarity, obviously is interesting, right? I mean, people can't function unless they've had their coffee or they've had their breakfast or whatever it is, and everybody's physiology is different. So what are a couple of the biggest things that we're not doing right, or that we should do more of, that people can think about and start doing right away?
Right. So great question. I always start off with a phrase that I like to share with my live audiences is, do we age because we lose our hormones, or do we lose our hormones because we age? Think about that. It's a chicken and the egg question. And the answer is yes and yes. We age because we lose our hormones, and we lose our hormones because we age. And I already told you that stress is the #1 hormonal disruptor. So what hormones am I talking about? Talking about testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, thyroid. Thyroid is a big issue. And there's so many physicians out there that won't even talk about it because they will be ostracized. The American Endocrinology Society, the American Thyroid Association has basically instructed physicians all across the United States that if you have a normal TSH test and a normal T4 test on your annual labs, that your symptoms are not related to an underperforming thyroid. And I can tell you that there's so much research out there that speaks completely to the opposite of that. The active thyroid test is what's called a free T3 test. And 99.9% of your physicians out there will never order that test for you. They will only order the TSH test and the T4 test. And if those fall in normal range for your age, won't be your thyroid. but there's 120 symptoms associated with low functioning thyroid. Bad hair, bad skin, bad nails, unexplained weight gain, lethargy, low energy, fatigue, okay? All associated with low functioning thyroid. Thyroid is the hormone that is the ingredient to your mitochondria at the cellular level. It is the energy production in your cells. It balances your metabolism. So one of the issues we have in the United States is obesity. We're pushing 60% of our citizens in this country are obese. We have diabetes becoming an epidemic, type 2 diabetes, which is associated with cardiovascular disease and cancer and all these big things, right? But we're not looking at the thyroid. We're not treating that. Testosterone is the number one hormone that women produce in their lifetime. It is essential for men's health. Men start losing testosterone after age 30. Women can lose 50% of testosterone production between the age of 20 and 40, usually tied to a couple pregnancy cycles. That I will tell you that you'll see most women have never had their testosterone level checked at all because everybody thinks it's a male sex hormone. And most men, I'll give you an example, the range on a male lab goes from 200 to 1200. So if you test at 350 or 400 or whatever, your doctor is going to tell you that you're normal. Your testosterone level is okay. So the question I want to pose to you is, what's wrong with living at the high end of normal? If the normal range is from 200 to 1200, what's wrong with having your testosterone level at the 1000 level instead of living at the 250 to 300? If the entire range is normal, I'm going to say to my doctor, look, doc, I want to live in the optimal side of the range. Why? Because it's going to build stronger bones. It's going to maintain my lean muscle mass. Testosterone is a vasodilator, which means more oxygen, more nutrition, more blood flow to the brain. It's going to help with Alzheimer's and dementia. It's going to help with so many things. It is a base master hormone that we lose as we age. And yet the misinformation in the medical community is that, oh, it has an increased risk of heart attacks and strokes and all different kinds of things. I can show you medical literature from the floor to the ceiling that will show you evidence, peer-reviewed medical literature from all over the world that just says that's not true. Another element is vitamin D3, right? So for testosterone and hormones and things like that, you need to find a doctor and a provider that can actually administer those things. I want to touch on 3 things that you can do, just you yourself and your own being, that you can take care of yourself. Vitamin D3. Medical literature over the last 10 years has shown that if your D3 level is below 50, you have a 50% increased risk of all types of cancer. Women have a 6-fold increased risk of breast cancer if your D3 level is below 50. The average American, when they get their blood tested, their D3 level is going to be 30, 35, maybe 25. And most physicians will tell you that you're normal, you're okay. Just take your normal multivitamin that you get at Costco or Walmart or someplace like that. Just, if you're on a 1 a day or you're on a Centrum or something like that, you're fine. The medical literature does not say you're fine. The medical literature says that you are at risk for the second biggest killer in the United States. So what do? You have to take 5,000 or 10,000 IU of vitamin D3 a day. And you can get those supplements, but most doctors will prescribe 1,000 IU or 2,000 IU a day, and it's not enough. And so if you're not checking your lab work to be in that optimal range, and again, the range for D3 is from 20 to 100. So why do I want to live in the low end of the range of 30, 35 when I could live in the range where it's 60, 70, 80, right? Again, the range is from 20 to 100. Why wouldn't I want my D3 level to be 75 or 80, especially when the medical literature over the last 10 years has been clear that I have a 50% reduced risk of all types of cancer.
Now, Gunther, is vitamin D3 also connected to immune system function? I've seen some things recently in the news related to coronavirus and COVID-19 protection, like, experts talking about what supplements can people take to help protect themselves right now, those who are worried about it. And I've heard them say vitamin D.
Yes.
But is there is it the same D3 or is there more than one
Yeah,
D?
the test that you're going to get on an annual lab is vitamin D3. There is D2, there is D1, but on a supplementary basis, you want D3. It's the most assimilative. It's the most absorptive. It's what your body can really use to do that. They call it the sunshine vitamin, right? You're supposed to be able to go out in the sun and get your D3 levels up. Well, the problem is we're afraid of skin cancer, so we put sunscreen on, right? And the sunscreen blocks the UVB light, and so your skin doesn't create the D3. And D3 is not really a vitamin, it's actually a hormone. It's the sunshine hormone. So if you were totally naked in the sun with no sunscreen on for 20 minutes, you could produce 20,000 IU of D3. But how many of you guys have it on your calendar today to be totally naked in the sun for 20 minutes today?
I don't know what goes on at Joseph's house, but
Yeah. I know that I'm not doing it today, so I supplement. I take 10,000 IU of D3 a day, right? And if you
So
check
then-
my blood, I'm in the 60, 70, 80 range usually, right? So that's
Okay,
one thing that all the listeners can do is get your D3 level up.
all right, so they should have a test for that D3 level. The
It should-
supplement they take should be labeled D3.
Yeah.
And it's the same vitamin that's going to help them with their immune system.
Yep.
And if they're concerned about something to help with COVID exposure.
Yeah. And if you're here in the Arizona area, practice that I'm the executive director for is Get Well Scottsdale. We have a supplement called ADK. So vitamin K2 was discovered by a dentist, very important for putting calcium back into the bones and the teeth, because one of the leading causes of heart attack is misplaced calcium. You see these marathon runners, they drop dead during a race at 47 years old. What was the cause of that? That is misplaced calcium being built up in the coronaries. It is a vitamin K2 deficiency, which is different than vitamin K1. K1 is your clotting factors. So if you cut yourself, you don't bleed to death, right? K2 is about myriad of things. It was discovered by a dentist. 98% of Americans are vitamin K2 deficient. So we have a supplement that we use called AD3K2. And they're 3 fat soluble vitamins. They work together. The body loves it. It's a great supplement, but it is one of the key things you can do to optimize your health. Along, like I said, testosterone, progesterone, estrogen, thyroid, and all that. You do need a physician to do those things. You can't self-administer those things. The second thing is just things like vitamin C and zinc. You know, we're speaking at a time right now where the president just got out of Walter Reed. What did they give him? I read an article. They gave him D3, they gave him some zinc, they gave him some nutrition, and he said he feels better than he did in the last 20 years. Why? Because being the president's a stressful job. Okay. The guy's going 24/7, going. Who knows how well he sleeps at night, right? His body, the stress of being president or trying to get reelected and all that is a physical toll. It is one of the hardest jobs in the world, I would imagine, right? I know I don't want the job, right?
Right.
So he probably got depleted. And there's a point when you're 70 something years old, the body says, I ain't taking anymore. And the whole thing about optimal health is giving your body the raw materials that it needs so that it can heal itself. As medical people, we don't really heal the body. The body heals itself. It has its own innate intelligence to heal itself. It knows exactly how to do it. But when it's deficient in the raw materials, it runs out of options. And it got to borrow from Peter to pay Paul. It's got to rob resources. And it is the most dynamic compensatory device ever created is the human body. You have a billion chemical reactions going on in your body every second of the day. You got 1.37 trillion cells in your body. Just imagine that for a second, what's being managed in your body. It's truly amazing, right?
So, and you know, this is the kind of stuff I can sit and listen to and take notes on all day. What's the third thing? You got D3, you got C and zinc.
So nutrition, right? Overall, and you got to get some advice on this. Okay. So just not going, one of the things that I'm pioneering is in-home epigenetic urine test. You've all heard about genetics and epigenetics. So genetics is what could happen to you. Epigenetics is what is happening to you right now. And company that I'm associated with, we developed the first in-home epigenetic urine test, and it comes out with a huge report telling you how the environment, air, water, food, stress, everything is affecting your physiology right now. I can give you a link at the end. You can check that out. The second thing is we need to get moving. So first thing is we need to deal with nutrition, physiologically, hormones, that kind of thing is really going to change your health destiny. The second thing is, especially being at home now for months during COVID, we're not moving around as much as we used to. And I'm not talking about becoming a gym rat where you have to work out 2 times a day and you have to be in the gym for 2 to 3 hours or something like that. No, I'm talking about, a lot of people create injuries from that kind of workout. A lot of people are working out too much. And that's not good either, because when the body gets put under stress like that all the time, it prepares for being put under stress like that. So the body likes differentiation. It likes being surprised. When you do the same thing over and over and over again, the body gets used to it, and your, return on that investment declines, to put some financial terms into it, right? You need to change it up a little bit. So even if you can just walk your dog, or you get out there every day and walk for a half an hour, 45 minutes or something, the body was designed to move. It is not meant to be in front of an electronic device for 8-10 hours a day or whatever, or to sit on the couch and watch the news. You need to move the body. The lymphatic system in the body does not have a pump. The only way that it works is through muscular contraction. So whatever it is you can do, you need to find a way to move. I'm very into what's called biohacking these days. There's all kinds of amazing equipment and machinery that workouts can get done in a very short amount of time. Again, you have to seek that out. I'd be happy to share that information with your listeners, if they want to contact me later or something. But the point number 2 is you have to move, and you have to move on a regular basis. And it doesn't mean that you have to work out to this extreme level or do yoga twice a day or anything like that. Just move your body. And the third thing is you need to get good sleep. All right. Sleep, the REM cycles that we go through at night, that is when rejuvenation and regeneration happens in our physiology. That's the way it was designed, the circadian rhythm of our bodies. That's when the body heals itself, when you're sleeping. And if your sleep is disturbed by electronic devices, by noise, by whatever it is, by eating too much sugar before you go to sleep at night, what I want to share with your listeners is that you need to create a routine to prepare to go to sleep. You can't just be involved in all this kind of stuff and then expect to fall asleep. Insomnia affects 60% of the American population. What are we doing? We're taking Ambien, we're taking Lunesta, we're taking drugs that have side effects over time. You need to get some help or figure out how to create an environment in which you can rest. Because with all the stresses of life, with COVID, with the news, with the election, with all this stuff going on, our system resources are being tapped every day. And it is our responsibility, like you said, Joseph, the leader of you. Right. You need to take care of this. You need to make some conscious decisions. You see in my background up here, decide. You need to decide. You need to choose that you want optimal health, and you need to act in accordance with that desire. You need to choose. You need to live an aligned life that is congruent with your desire. And you need to make choices that support that optimal health. Because let me tell you, folks, without your health, you have nothing. You can have $1 billion in the bank and you think you got financial freedom. 96% of people's wealth is spent in the last week of their life.
Wow.
Trying to keep themselves alive in the last phase. So you can accumulate all these assets. You can accumulate all. The time to take care of the body is now, today.
Amen. Amen, brother. Well, listen, as always, a very interesting conversation. Thank you for sharing those 3 tips, the nutrition with the vitamins and the supplements, and then getting moving and getting good sleep. I know that's something that I don't struggle with. My wife does. She wakes up thinking about her deals and reads and then goes back to sleep. But so thank you, Gunther. An amazing conversation. I think what you said, that, we need to be the leader of us, be the leader of you. There is no one having a secret meeting behind closed doors right now, someplace on the planet, trying to strategize about how to make you healthier, make you wealthier, keep you safe and secure and successful. So that leader is you. You're having that meeting or it ain't happening. So thank you for that. Ike, any final words?
No, I can't agree more. You know, we, as an attorney, we get calls when someone is panicked about their health. And that is often when people call and say, I need to do my estate planning. Right. And so that to me usually means one of two things when there's a sense of urgency. It either means that they have had a health scare or have notice of some chronic condition, or that they're about to go on vacation and they're doing something in case they don't come back. That's when people call it time sensitive pressure. So we see this fear and the panic and the expense that Gunther mentioned. And just like with everything else, wellness is better than, you know, heroic treatment and triage. So thanks for sharing these details with us and giving us some actionable things. I do have one quick last question. If somebody comes into your clinic, like the one in Scottsdale, what is that? Can you give us real quick sort of what's evaluated as part of that wellness analysis? Do you do blood work? You mentioned testosterone levels, you mentioned some other levels of these other things. How do you size somebody up in terms of helping them figure out how to optimize their health?
So these days, the average visit at a family practice is 7 to 8 minutes long. Okay, when you go see your doctor, it's 7 or 8 minutes. Tell me, what can you diagnose or analyze in 7 minutes or 8 minutes? The answer is absolutely nothing.
Their insurance coverage, that's about it.
That's it, right? So you're getting a wellness checkup to look at your lab work. Everything's normal. Joseph, Ike, see you next year. You're normal. Good job, buddy. Get your exercise, eat better. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Simple advice. Everything's normal. At Get Well Scottsdale, or, you know, the 250 physicians I've worked with over the last 10 years, it is a quantum shift in how they view the patient. We're going to have a 45-minute consultation. We're going to look at lab work. We're going to look at your entire medical history. We're going to look at your lifestyle. We're going to look at the choices, you know, the stresses in your job and your family. What are you solving for? What truly is the problem? There's a conversation that needs to happen with a qualified practitioner that is looking at you not just as numbers on a piece of paper, but as a human being and what it is you're dealing with right now. And I call that personalized medicine. That is individualized medicine, right? So we have all these different tools in our pocket. And what I've noticed of 10 years of working with physicians is, you know, if they have a hammer, everything looks like a nail to them. Okay. And it's a one size fits all approach. At Get Well Scottsdale, what we do, and we're actually in Anthem. We moved our offices from Scottsdale to Anthem because we didn't want to deal with the traffic having to drive to Scottsdale all the time. So clients come to see us in Anthem right now. We got a nice office here. And, you know, my partner there is a naturopathic physician. She used to be the doctor for a lot of celebrity clients and athletes in New York City. She used to practice in the Rodin building on 57th and 7th. She was the only naturopathic physician in New York City for like 13 years. Okay, wow. So her approach to looking at a person from a holistic perspective, and these days we have functional medicine, we have hormonal medicine, we have nutritional medicine, we have all different types of things. When you have a practitioner that can see you as a client holistically and really listen, probably the number one comment we get from patients is that, wow, you actually listened to me. You actually heard what was going on with me. And that's the key. The patient knows what's going on with them. The patient understands the symptoms. And the biggest thing that's happening is we take these symptoms to become normal because we're getting older. They're not normal. They're the result of a hormonal deficiency, a nutritional deficiency. Something is out of balance. And it is the medical provider today that has gotten the extra education outside of medical school, because they do not teach this in medical school. Our pharmaceutical companies do not teach this. They only teach patented drug. And one thing I wanted to say earlier, look, if you want to know the truth in medicine, follow the money. You want to know the truth in anything, you have to follow the money. Who's benefiting, right? Who's benefiting? Who's getting the money? And that's how the standard of care is developed. And it's bad to say that. You mentioned conspiracy theories and all that kind of stuff. We don't need to go down that. but follow the money and you'll
Yeah.
get to the truth. And so
Yeah.
that's the difference. And so I just want to let your folks know also, if you want to connect with me, gunther.today. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, all social media, all my contacts are there, just gunther.today. If you want to check out the epigenetic test, you can go to thenutritest.com. You can read about it. So Nutri is N-U-T-R-I, thenutritest.com. You can read about it. So we're here to help folks if they want to get serious about changing their health destiny. There are other great providers in the world, in the other country. We're not the only ones, but there's really few people in the country that do what we do, how we do it.
Yeah.
And it's been my passion to help many other providers around the United States learn these things, go to the proper trainings, get the proper information so that they can truly change their patients' lives and change their health destiny. But as you said, look, it starts with you. You have to decide. You have to take charge of your life. You have to want to have a different destiny than you see everybody around you having.
Gunther, thank you. And thank you for those parting words for us, because we do need to take charge of it, because nobody else is going to if we don't.
Right.
So Gunther, again, thank you. We're going to have your contact information posted on a slide at the end of the recording. So again, thank you for joining us today on Business in the New Normal. Ike, thank you, my friend. As always, it's a pleasure to be hosting with you. Again, your contact information as well as mine will be at the end of the session. So with that, I'm going to say thank you to everybody for joining us today on Business in the New Normal, where we hope to share information with you that will help you not just survive, but thrive in this new normal. So I'm Joseph Rosales, my co-host, Ike Devji, our great guest, Gunther Mueller. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll talk again. Bye-bye.